Hello and welcome to this exciting and spooky episode. I'm going to make a dress that has patchwork and Halloween fabric in it.
It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket. So as I was editing the commerying my tweeds video, I just kept looking at the shelf underneath where all the my leftover bits of fabric, I've cut them into strips and I'm going to make them into patchwork dresses. It is so messy. So I decided I'm just going to pack them away into a box, and because they're all in sort of colour lots. So I'll pack them away into a couple of boxes and get them out as I'm going to make one, because yeah, for a while having them there motivated me, but now I was just like, ugh. But then as I was putting them away, I noticed that some of the yellows, the creamy yellow ones in particular, have Halloween prints in them. And I was like, oh, it's October. So yeah, I decided to use up the creamy yellow ones and maybe some of the yellow ones. So I kept them out. And the other ones I have packed away. But these ones I was like, oh, let's see if I can make something with these. So what I did was at first I was like, oh, I'll just sew all the pale creamy ones together. And then I struck upon the idea of putting bright yellow creamy ones. So this is literally the first line I sewed. So I'm thinking about unpicking them and doing like adding a yellow one, a bright yellow one in there, but I don't know. I might also just put it at the centre back. We'll see. So this was the first one I did, and here we have the second one and the third one. So I've almost got 4 yards. At first I thought I would only get maybe 2 yards. I'm so bad at guessing how much fabric I can get out of these cut up bits of scrap. Oh, and I often get asked, how do I measure them when I'm cutting them up? I don't. I've just got, once I've made the vintage dress or the regular dress, whatever I was making, then the leftover scraps, I generally just cut them so that they're neat, and then I put them away, and then I got them all out, and while I was watching TV or a movie or something, I just cut them into strips, and then once I had all the strips cut, I graded them into like this one's fat, so I'll put it with all the other wide ones, and this one's quite thin, so I'll put it with all the thin ones, and then I sewed them all together and then sewed all those long strips together. So yeah, they're not measured, but you can get quilting tools that measure things. So I have about 3.5 yards of fabric. Yeah, 3.5 yards of fabric, and I have a few bits left. So I think I'll get up to 4 yards of fabric, which will be the middle tier of a vintage dress, where the skirt is, the 3 tiers of the skirt are 2 yards, 4 yards, 8 yards. So yeah, I think I'll just keep going. And once I've got the full, I'll just use them all up, however much fabric that is, because I don't think I could use these creamy yellow bits of scrap in anything else. So I'll do that, and then I will be back. Oh, and obviously I'll trim down those edges too. And then I got distracted by other things. So these 3 bits of fabric are still 3 bits of fabric, not trimmed. I did make this jacket. I beaded it. And after I finished that, I was like, actually, and I kind of decided that I was going to commery all my beads, which is taking a massive amount of time. So, these are these weird sort of things. They do have tiny holes that you can stitch them down on, but anyway, so my bench is full of beads, so I'm going to have to pack them away at the very least. I'm kind of still totally in the middle of doing my beads, but anyway, I've got these 3 and I have no video for the next video. So I went into my unfinished projects and I was like, I'm sure I have that Halloween fabric dress. So it was 4 yards of fabric that I bought last year on clearance after Halloween. And last year, my favorite dress was the Vogue 9106. And simplicity.com has a huge sale on patterns, which is where I just got this picture from. Anyway, I made half a dozen dresses out of this pattern, and then I decided I wanted to do one that's slightly different. So the bodice is the same, but I think I cut out the skirts differently. Anyway, I decided to get it out and have a look at it, because I think one of the tiers I can swap out for the patchwork one, so if I remember correctly. So this is me sorting out the pieces. So I have 2 bodices. So I guess I was going to do the outer bodice and the lining bodice out of the Halloween fabric, which is weird. Maybe I bought 5 yards of this fabric, because normally you only get the outer bodice and the skirts out of 4 yards of fabric. Anyway, and then I had like the top tier. These are the front top tier, back top tier. And then for the second tier, I was going to have full width of quilting cotton, salvage to salvage, 2 strips. And then for some reason I have 3 strips. I guess I was going to make a belt and a hair sash or hair tie or something. And then I have 4 strips for the bottom tier. So if I swap out the second, I'm not going to use this first tier, these ones here, because that only works when you use the fitted bodice. And I do love the bodice and I love the skirt of the dress, but I already have like half a dozen of them, as I said, and it's just a bit too flattering. I'll wear this dress more if it's just a pullover dress. I'll leave the bodice and the top tier. Maybe I'll use them on something else. I'll make the dress later when I feel like, I won't get as much unwanted attention wearing a flattering dress. But for now, I'll just make this pullover dress. So bottom tier is the 4 strips of the Halloween. Middle tier is the patchwork, and the top tier is, and those are my beads. I put them slightly to the side, not really out of the way. And then the top tier is just 2 strips, salvage to salvage. And then I guess I'll use all those leftover bits. So these are the bits, I guess I was going to make a sash out of it. And the other bit is just a scrap. So I'll sew these together somehow with some bright yellow fabric, I think, and I'll make the front of the bodice and the back of bodice out of them, and then I'll just use plain white cotton for the lining. So I think I'll put the bodice stuff outside for the moment and do the skirt first, because that's the easiest part, and then I'll feel like I've actually got something done. So I'll just sew the 3 patchwork bits together for the second tier, and I'll stitch the 2 top tier bits together. And I actually have 4 strips of this salvage to salvage, so I could put that between the patchwork layer and the bottom Halloween layer, or I could cut it in half and maybe make a ruffle on the bottom. I don't know. I think I'll just make the skirt first. Here it is. I don't think it needs the bug fabric, and I might actually use it in the bodice, like just one of the strips, and then use the other 3 strips in a layer cake skirt dress like I was going to. So here it is, and I've just pinned it to and I'm holding it on with a sash, so that's why the tulips are at the top. But I quite like this. So we will leave that there for the moment and make the bodice. So I sewed those strips together, and I've got a front bodice, a back bodice, and I've got white cotton, plain white cotton for the lining. So then I use the burrito method to sew my bodice together, and this is the back. It's really cute. It's a bit chaotic, but it's really cute. And I'm going to wear, like, during the cooler months, I'll wear a long sleeve t-shirt underneath, probably black, with like a hoodie over the top. So it's just going to look like a really cool skirt with a little bit of the top of the bodice maybe showing. And so now it is time to attach the bodice to the skirt, and I just machine sewed them, pinned them, pleated them down, machine sewed them together, and then you have to do the lining as well. And here it is. It's not as full as some other skirts. Like normally I go 2 yards, 4 yards, 8 yards, and this one is 2, almost 4, and then 4, or 3.5, then 4. It's 4 salvage to salvage of quilting fabric, so it is much more than 4 yards, but it's not anywhere near 8 yards. And you can see it's not too bad, but it's not the best twirling skirt in the world or anything like that. And this is it with the sash on. It's a sort of medium size bodice that I made, so the skirt falls longer. Normally when I make a vintage look dress, I use a cropped bodice.
but this one's just a few inches longer, so I like it. But it's a different length than what I usually make. So when I first put it on the mannequin, I was like, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? And it's because the bodice is like a contemporary modern day bodice rather than that cropped vintage one that I always use because I love it so much. I do need a range of different dresses, and this is a really comfortable size. So yeah, there you go. I made something, but look at all those beads on my workbench. Honestly, I don't know what I'm doing. I sort of, instead of keeping them in all their little packages, I mixed them together, and I was like, oh, I could use all these to make one jacket, and I could use all these to make another one. And now I'm just like, yes, but what if you don't? You're going to have to sort them back into a dozen different bags. So yeah, anyway, I'm really happy with this dress. It's fabulously bright and a bit chaotic with the pumpkins and the gourds, and yeah, it's really cute. I like it. So happy spooky season if you celebrate. I just ate such a large amount of candy. I'm on a bit of a sugar high at the moment. Maybe I can harness that energy to finish sorting my beads and clear my bench so I can finally make a tweed jacket this month, honestly. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I've never really celebrated Halloween, but I do like eating candy, lots of it. So yes, at the very least, eat some candy and happy sewing.